like a little Mario Kart thing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Go.
Beep.
Yeah, so cool. So we are Super Metal Brothers. We're here for our third interview with Sean, aka SeenFeen, also of Sunscourge, the solo guy.
Solo guy.
Yeah. So nice to have you, man. I know
Nice
you're
to
out
be
in
here.
New York, so that's pretty awesome. I think you're the first person on the East Coast we've talked to, so we get some East
Oh.
Coast metal.
Really traveling the globe.
The West. This is leading up to our split EP review that we're going to do with Josh Rivera of Oracle Spectre and yourself, Sunscourge. And yeah, it's like East versus West Coast, man, because I'm pretty sure Josh is in California somewhere.
Yeah.
So the way we usually start this off, man, is we have two things that we ask everybody. So I'll start off. I don't know if you had a chance to listen to the podcast at all, but we have this thing called the Mosh Pit Legends, where we just talk about someone that we've seen in the mosh pit that, like at a concert or something like that, that just really stood out to us. We've talked about Mermaid Man, who is a dude who was just fucked up beyond relief, that was in a Mermaid Man costume, had like almost cardboard cutouts over his nipples.
It was like the felt. Yeah.
Yeah.
It's like Spirit Halloween. Yeah.
Yeah, I think that was at Monster Mosh. So there was like Signs of the Swarm, everybody that was going pretty hard. That was a Halloween one. But yeah, so I got a new one just to give you an example. So I call this guy Kenny Fisher. So Kenny Fisher, if you remember, what is the name of that movie? I think it was called Now and Then, or some, I can't remember the name of the movie. But Kenny Fisher's like your typical like white dude that thinks he's Eminem, right? So wears the beanie, has those like really weird like glasses and everything. So he's like hip hopped out in the middle of the mosh pit, and he treated it like it was a strip club. Like every time he went into the mosh pit, he was like kind of humping the air and looking for someone to grind on him. And he was just really interesting character to be at. Like, I'm pretty sure it was like a Slipknot concert way back in the day we were at. They attracted some different people back then.
No, definitely.
They attracted like people who weren't into that scene to come over. So we got a lot of those. It was actually him and a whole crowd of boys that was with him too, that were just like, cool, man, I'm glad you guys are here. You could tell they didn't know what to do. Like they didn't really understand what a mosh pit really was.
If you've ever been to a show and you've just seen, someone who's like transcended, become the VIP of the mosh pit, if you've got any of those, we would love to hear it.
Yeah, so I'm not a pit person myself. I'm too fragile for that. But I was at 2019 Summer Slaughter, which was a great show. So like Lorna was there before they blew up. Rivers of Nile. Who else? There was like Necro Goblicon too. It was a great show. Brand of Sacrifice, they were there. That was before I even knew those guys. But during Cattle Decapitation, one of my all-time favorite bands, I like look over, I see this girl enter the pit. I'm like, all right, cool. Then I see something flash behind me. It's her getting ejected from the pit 4 seconds later. She did not last, but she had the spirit.
Yeah, she tried.
She had the gumption, but not, I guess, the weight to stay in the pit, because she got sent. She was sliding across the floor almost immediately. I don't know what, like maybe someone just picked her up and threw her, but she was fast.
We'll call that one Ragdoll, mosh pit legend.
Yeah, the Ragdoll. Yeah, I see people enter. We were at Body Snatcher, Paleface, Distant, Angel Maker recently here in Dallas, and dude, that pit was ridiculous. I mean, the whole concert was like you were standing like this. Like I was swaying with the crowd because they had such a small venue. It was called the Trees, which is a really popular venue in Dallas here. And dude, there's people entering that pit that should not have been in there. Even me, like I'm not a huge guy, but like I got weight on me. Even in there, I would toe dip on that mosh pit because like I hate being like, sucked up like this the whole time. So I stand on the edge and just kind of do the arm thing while I'm watching. So
that's like the worst spot to be, because that's where people take it out on you, even though you're not ready to. I hate crowd killers so much.
I think
like, if you're in the pit, like I feel like it should be like you hit people who also want to be hit. There's like that sort of mutuality. But if you're a crowd killer, you're hitting people who don't want to hit back, which is just fucking lame. It's so lame.
Yeah.
This one wasn't too bad. It was really just people getting out their aggression, you know, but I mean, that kind of comes with the territory, but I'm with you. It's like, I mean, swing about, dude. I don't care, but just watch your spaces.
Yeah.
Definitely,
you know what I mean? But you do have some people that like when they're coming around the pit, dude, it's like that momentum that they just swing on the edge from. So yeah, being on the edge isn't the best place sometimes. That's
I took a cartwheel to the nuts, and I've just stayed back since. Which is just like the goofiest thing. This dude's fucking somersaults at me, and I get nut tapped. I'm like, that sucks. I'm over this.
Yes, somersault in the pit. That's pretty brave.
They're angry over here. They're doing that shit. Like there's
dude,
classic hardcore karate. But yeah, like I like just standing at the edge. I got I took like an elbow like right to like this pinky, and it was like fucked up for like 2 months. Jesus, I was like, I wasn't even in the pit. I wasn't even close to it.
No, dude, at that concert, I got punched once. Like a guy kind of did like one of those kung fu things. Like he hit me with his fist behind him, like he thought someone was sneaking up on him, you know?
And he was right.
He was right. I was creeping that day. And then Solaire got punched twice.
Oh yeah. I'm actually surprised I didn't have a black guy.
Yeah.
Yeah, I got no. So kind of moving on. So the other thing we do, and this is something we'll bring up later. So we like to do what we call the super metal draft. And what that entails is basically if you could think of an amalgam of a super band, any members you wanted, you know, what would be your super band? This kind of gives insight into what would be your super group. So we'll come back to that at the end, but I asked that question at the beginning, so you have some time to think about it.
We were looking at featured X. That's what gave us the idea. Like, kind of like, wouldn't it be cool if there was like a DraftKings where you could use people's prices and like make your super band out of that?
You could, like, it'd be a really fucking expensive song, but you could.
Yeah.
People are down, right? People got to put food on the table.
Yeah. No, I think that's a cool way. Like, I know a lot of people are using that as a way to get features, which is a good segue for you. So, do you do vocals on your EPs, either of them?
No, I do all the instrumentals, and like I remember when I first started Sunscourge, I was like, yeah, I'll just do everything. I'll even mix and master. I was like, I can't do this shit.
Yeah.
So I write all the instrumentals, do all that stuff. The only instrument I actually play is guitar, and then I'll use the guitar to also do ambient. Some people have mistaken that for like choir or synth, but I use that for ambience as well, and then I just program the rest. Do a demo, send it off to a vocalist I think fits the track. They're like, yep, get all those stems together, send it to someone to mix and master, and then we're good. That's my whole process.
So I do kind of the same thing with my own music. What drum plugin are you using? Because they sound better than mine, man.
I use Get Good Drums.
Get Good? Okay.
Yeah, because a lot of like audio engineers will also use that for when they're like, you know, mixing, mastering, doing their own production. So I just feel like it's the most versatile, just because so many people have it. And I use Invasion, that specific one, but like people use all sorts of ones, and the drum map stays the same. So
yeah,
it's pretty reliable.
I was gonna say because I had gotten the Architects GGD version, and I really liked it, and I actually redid the drums on one of our tracks, and I sent it to my brother, and he was like, man, this sounds too good. It's like too close. It's too clean. I was like, all right, shit, I don't know, dude. Like, but it is a really good program. Now you have a computer that can actually run that shit, dude, not some 20-year-old fucking drum software, dude. But,
yeah, I use a really old one. I can't remember the name of it off the top of my head. It's one of the used to be popular before Get Good Drums. It's eluding me what the name of it is, but yeah, I'm still learning how to get all that. I'm not a drummer myself at all. I do the same.
Yeah, it's just like you're hitting like 4 things at once that aren't physically possible.
Yeah.
When I was writing drums, though, that one time I wrote drums, that's like what I was trying to be mindful of, but I still went back and I was like, I'd probably get critiqued to hell for this, dude.
700 BPM.
Well, yeah, like going beyond an infinite annihilator, dude. But yeah, I was trying to be mindful. Kind of, what's your process with that? Do you have any background with any other instruments, or has it mainly just been guitar?
It's just guitar, and like all the Sunscourge tracks that are out. Those are all the songs that I've written. I have like nothing that I wrote and then never put out. So like my first EP, Scarlet, that's it's Josh Taylor Barber and then Alan for those songs. But those are in the order that I wrote them. And then same thing with my latest EP, Wraith, also in the order that I wrote them. But my
Nice.
process is just like I'll usually I usually start with drums. I just like program out a bunch of different beats, see what works. I'm like, okay, we have a bunch of different grooves. And I just like riff around until I find a riff that like really fits. And I usually build it from there. Usually it's just like one riff or like one rhythm, one breakdown, just something like that. And then I just build from there. I just do it like makes sense. Because I'm self-taught with guitar. So like I know the basics. I'm like, I know where the notes are and I know what notes sound good. I don't know what progression of notes sounds good. But I'm like, okay, we have our like whatever scale or whatever like 3 notes I'm going to go through, and then I just go from there.
Yeah, makes sense. And I notice I have a similar process where like I'll write, but then I'll try to transcribe like into like figure out what key it's in and that type of
Mhm.
stuff. And I'll find like, man, that's like almost perfectly like a minor scale. And
Mhm.
like sometimes whoever designed all that, hundreds of years ago, like it was someone who had like that perfect pitch or something like that because it
Mhm.
just makes sense. It's weird how it works. Even when you like get into like more of the melodic minors and stuff like that, it's still like if you don't even have to have a great ear just to hear it. It just
Yeah.
makes sense. Yeah, I was going to ask you if you knew any theory because I noticed on Scarlet specifically, there's lots of interesting chord progressions on that, especially in the ambience. I
Mhm.
noticed. Can't remember the song specifically that I was. I think it was "Dead Blight Chalice."
That would it was probably Death is Destined. Death by Chalice is on the new one.
Oh, wait, yeah. My
So,
bad.
Death is Destined with Alan. So, yeah, that was, like, the 3rd song I had written. But that one was just like, "Yeah, that sounds good." And I just sent it. But I really like that song. I feel like it really holds up. Alan made that song his own. I just, like he was, like, the first person on that EP to, like, get assigned to a song, and pretty much I was like, "Here's these 3 songs. Which one do you vibe with? Which one do you wanna be on?" And he was like, "That one." And it's funny because I feel like that song is, like, the closest to, like, a distant song, and he
Yeah.
really made it his own. Like, he just took it, wrote lyrics, fucking performed the shit out of them. Like, it was fantastic. But, yeah, when writing that song, I was like, "Yeah, that sounds good. Yeah, I want a moment that's like this. Oh, let's have, like, a lot like, a moment that really opens up, has a lot of, like a lot more melody, or, like, let's have the synthy section." It's just like a matter of feeling with me. Like I understand enough music theory to be like, all right, this is this note. So I should probably like put the bass an octave below, stuff like that.
So how long have you been playing?
Let's see. I think I got like my first guitar when I was 9, but I was like I wasn't committed to it.
Yeah.
It's like I knew enough to like navigate the guitar. Like I would learn from Songster tabs, interactive tabs. Those are fun. And I think that's why I have like a good sense of like where to go for like the sound I want, but I
Yeah.
can't really explain like the theory behind it. Like I know like the general positioning of like, okay, here's like this note on this string. Like more than that, I'm like, it's really just a matter of like, yeah, that feels good. But yeah, I started playing guitar when I was like 9. I was like very casual with it, like would learn the occasional like song. I think like one of the first songs I learned was like Denial of Life from like the first Death album, Scream Bloody Gore. It was just like one riff, but I was like, this is cool. But yeah, then with the pandemic, I was like just at home. I was like, oh yeah, I have this guitar. I should like put some
Yeah.
time to it because I wasn't fucking doing anything else. There's like
Yeah.
nothing else to do. So I started putting time to that towards that. Then what was it? I think November 2020, I started uploading reactions. And then doing that, I was like, man, I'm like talking about all these like people's music, but like, who am I really to critique? Let's see how it is to actually like put this out, to put in like the work. So I started writing. I think it would have been about maybe February. 2021, and just sent it. I really just sent it. And I think that was like one of the things that really helped me become a better guitarist, just writing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Definitely opens you up. And also, like, there's this weird thing when you vibe with it, you start doing stuff that you didn't even know. You stop, like, because I've played for like 23 years now at this point, but I never recorded myself. I had a band like back when I was in high school and stuff, and we were called 40 Chin Ball Children. We really didn't do much, but we tried to like stick to like chord progressions and stuff, because I did go to school and learn theory. Like there's a really good program in Dallas where they go through like music business and teach you how royalties work, and they really teach you the record company business like really in depth, and they go into music theory and stuff like that. So I was trying to use like the circle of fifths, to write music and stuff. And I found like that stuff, it's cool to know if you're doing like a, orchestra piece, but if you're writing guitar, you can throw it out the window, dude. It's okay to throw in like artifacts and things that are outside of scales and stuff like that. And some of the greatest guitarists in the world, like Dimebag, who's one of my favorite of all time, man, is like, he didn't stick to any like, pure scale or anything like that. He was always throwing in what do you call it, like foreign notes. I can't remember the, official way to say it, but things outside of the scale.
Yeah. So, because I thought you had brought up the pandemic, and I thought that was actually pretty interesting. So, the reactions and all that kind of stem from just like being at home bored as fuck, basically.
Yeah. Yeah, that's pretty much it. Because I've been listening to metal like my whole life. I was like fortunate because like I got into metal because like my mom listened to metal. It's like straight out the womb. It was like, all right, we're listening to Korn now, which is pretty nice. That's like a pretty good situation to be in.
Yeah.
So like and it wasn't like, I think there's a lot of people who like they get into metal, but then it's like it's not approved by their parents or like their peers growing up. But I was like, yeah, this is valid music. I was never like told otherwise. So I've always been like, really into music. Always been like trying to like, find something new. So I growing up when Pandora Radio dropped, that was huge for me. I found a bunch of bands that when Spotify like became big, I found so much music. So like I would like every Friday, I'd sit down and just listen to all the new stuff or just explore, try to find something new. So going into reactions, I like I knew a lot of like music just like in metal throughout like a bunch of different subgenres. And I just enjoy listening to new music. I feel like even if like I wasn't recording, I'd still be doing like the same thing. New song drops, I would check it out. So when the pandemic came around and I couldn't do the stuff I had been like putting like 20 to 40 hours a week in, I was like, let's turn this into a thing, because reactions overall had just like been kind of popping off. I was like, I could do this. So I just started recording and just sent it.
Probably our timeline is kind of similar. Our parents weren't necessarily into metal, but we grew up with like classic rock and kind of Motown stuff. But our parents were pretty supportive of us listening to metal. They didn't have an issue with it. So we had gotten into it, for me personally, like System of a Down when they first came out, and then for G-Spot it was Korn and stuff like that. If you had like a timeline, what was like, and I mean, you probably already answered the question, but like, what was like that pivotal moment from the start where you're like, this is my shit? And then like, where did it go from there? What were like the stepping stones to now?
There's a video on like probably like a floppy disk somewhere of me as like a 2-year-old jamming out to like a Stevie Wonder song, Contusion, which is just entirely like a long guitar solo.
Yeah.
So I guess like before I was even conscious, but like when I was conscious and could actually like, have the free will to listen to what I wanted to listen to versus what was put on the radio in front of me. I was listening to a lot of Linkin Park as like a 7-year-old, which I find hilarious. Just because like, how can a 7-year-old relate to the lyrical themes of Linkin Park? But I right? Like crawling in my skin. I'm like, mood. This is so me. And I had a friend who was like a year younger than me. Like, so me as a 7-year-old, this 6-year-old, it's like, oh yeah, in the end, it doesn't even matter, man. Oh, this is so true. Amen. Yeah, I find that really funny. But yeah, no, I really started off with kind of new metal. So like Linkin Park, Korn, a lot of grunge too. So Alice in Chains, Stone Temple Pilots.
Yep.
And pretty much just went from there and just like kept kind of escalating until I get more and more and more and more extreme.
Yeah, isn't that weird how metal's like it's like a gateway drug into the next form of metal, like every time? Because I feel like
Absolutely.
a lot of people today, Korn was definitely that stepping stone. Maybe Slipknot, because
Mhm.
Korn was the first. I remember I was in like sixth grade, dude, and Life is Peachy had just dropped, and I was into like Boys to Men before that, you know. And this kid put headphones on my head, like it was sitting behind me on the
He
bus,
just
and he played
assassinated
it.
you?
Yeah,
Yeah,
and he's
yeah.
like, "Listen to this," and this was it, and the song was Twist. I'll never forget it. And it was like that, all that demon talk, you know, that blah, 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 blah. And dude, I remember my life changed that day. It's like, fuck all that other stuff I'm listening to. I don't even know what I was into. And I remember that dude, he was so, even in the sixth grade, like so passionate, like fucking Corn, man. I remember he knew like everything about Jonathan Davis. Like he knew his whole life. He was like, yeah, his dad fucked him. And I was like, dude, that's kind of fucked up. Like it isn't a good thing. And just
You're
like,
just like, okay, then. Anyways, like, all right,
that's
cool.
that's kind of not the reason I'm gonna listen to them, but yeah, okay,
Yeah.
I get it. But then he like played me Daddy and like all those like great Corn songs from early in the day. And it's just like progressed from there. I remember so a lot I don't know if a lot of people remember this. Slipknot was underground for like a
Yeah.
good 2 years. And I remember seeing people like the kids who wore like Marilyn Manson shirts in middle school. They started showing up with Slipknot shirts, and I wanted, and just they had the masks and the whole aesthetic. Aesthetic is so important, man. It really draws people in. I mean, my days, when you were picking out albums, we didn't have. I mean, we had cable sometimes,
Mhm.
but nobody was playing, you know, Slipknot on the radio.
Yeah.
You might catch it on MTV2. You know, that was it. So you went off of, you know, album covers is really what you went off of. And that's how actually I remember I was going through, I was looking for like new music, and I got into Head PE because that first album, Bartender, had like the dude with the crossed out eyes, and I just thought the art on it was cool and just bought it, and I spent $20 on it. So then I had to like it, you know? So I kept going with it. Um, yeah, so it's interesting that you brought up COVID because we've noticed that. So little past on me, I would, you know, up until about 2007, I was really into metal, played a lot of guitar, was really deep, and then I joined the army because I
Mhm.
ended up losing my job, and I had a kid, another one on the way, so I had to do something, and I was in for like 11 years, and I just didn't have the time to, you know, delve into anything. So I really lost, you know, that 11 years from about 2007 to 2018. And coming back into it, you know, there were some bands I got into like Parkway Drive and August Burns Red, stuff like that. When I was in Iraq, actually, the August and Parkway really brought me through some stuff.
Mhm.
And now I'm at the spot where I'd never heard of Fallujah until like 6 months ago.
Yeah, the recent
And
album.
yeah. And so now I'm digging into like Empyrean and all this stuff. But I'm noticing like a lot of those eras, they were a lot more spanned out. And now we're in this like golden age, it seems like, where there's just release, 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 great album after great album. And I really think that it's COVID. COVID's the only explanation for it. I think a lot of these artists had time to sit down and really think about what they want to do. And now they're putting out, I mean, who's the Chelsea Grin guy? What's his name again?
Tom Barber.
Tom Barber.
Yeah, like all the stuff he's doing with Darko and Chelsea Grin. They got 2 EPs/albums with Chelsea Grin.
Same with
Darko's
Baby
done,
J. Yeah,
yeah,
Yep.
it's
he's
just
doing all the
insane.
writing.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's been insane. And then seeing the guy from Enterprise Earth like writing in his van and stuff like that.
Gabe.
What's his name? Yeah, I'm horrible with names, dude. But yeah, it's pretty crazy. So it's cool to see that you're coming up from that too. I really think that like we have an idea. I think that the whole like COVID era is going to be documentary worth one day, you know, because there's just going to be so much music coming out and all these bands stepping up. Just really feels like a flood. It might also be because I'm just getting back into it in the last like 4 years. So
Well, and something, I mean, but I've been in metal this whole time, and I did notice, and maybe it was just me, but I did notice like metal started to feel kind of stale right before COVID hit. You had a couple bangers, but dude, I really think like the scene, if you get out and see your local scenes, if you go, I mean, everything post COVID for music in general, it's just like, but where metal is unique and as special as this is a very small thing that is now like rising, even coming back even stronger post COVID, in my opinion. And a lot of that has to do with these reaction videos too. I mean, you see Lorna Shore to the Hellfire, that has like Coachella bitches fucking screaming their head off, dude.
They popped off, yeah.
Yeah. So yeah, I think it's we're trying to gather whatever information we can and just get everybody's kind of take on it. But and then also we're seeing a lot of, you know, just individual artists that are just basically doing everything by themselves now.
It's easier to do music now compared to pretty much any other time.
Yeah, it's super easy.
But dude, when I had a band in like high school, like I remember recording was such a like pain in the ass, dude. Like finding someone who had a computer that could handle it, or we even like paid, which was dumb. We paid to go to like a recording studio here in Dallas. And like the guy was like, "You sure you want to pay for this?" Like, it's like, this is a little maybe higher than you're going for. But I mean, people had like, you know, Logic on like Macs, like the old school Macs, sometimes in a, you know, garage somewhere, or they recorded on those like tape deck things. Yeah. That's really the way you got your demos out, man. So it's crazy watching how all these artists are going through it. Like I love watching Misha Mansour, like how his writing process and stuff. It's like, man, if I could have done that, you know, 15 years ago, I would definitely never join the army. I'd have been like, the kids will be fine. I'll figure it out, because I could have recorded and done some stuff. But I was going to ask you, so I notice, you know, because I'm digging in on Josh Rivera from Oracle Spectre and you, there's a lot of, in your guys' features, I see a lot of similarities. I know, I'm not sure if he is anymore. I'm going to ask him when we do his interview, but I know he was doing guitar for King Malice.
Yes.
Or at least I'm not sure if he is, you know, if he's still doing
I think he still is.
Okay.
Nice.
And then the guy from Disembodied Tyrant, Don. So I noticed that he used to be, I think he's on King Malice now too. Yep. Right. Okay. Is there any relationship there, or is it just like kind of a fluke that all those kind of match up?
Yeah, no, I think they just I think after Don left Disembodied Tyrant, he was lined up to feature on one of Josh's songs, and then he took time, I think for mental health, and then eventually did. So that's one of the songs on Josh's latest EP. But I think after that, Josh really liked what he put out and was like, "Let's do a project together." And then I think that's how King Malice started.
Okay.
How have you guys known each other for a minute, or how did y'all link up?
Let's see. Let's see. I did a reaction for Josh. I was like, "Yo, this is sick." So when I started writing and I was looking for vocalists, I was like, "He'd be a good one. He'd be a good one to have." For my features, like they're people like I've met through the reaction scene. So
okay.
So on that first EP, you know, there's Josh, but there's also Taylor and Alan. I love those guys so much. Alan is the boy. Taylor's so friendly. I believe on the Body Snatcher run, I got to see Alan and the whole Distant crew. But yeah, no, because of the whole reaction thing, like it's made it like pretty cool because you know, I've just met so many awesome people, and like I know I mesh with them, so it's like it's really easy to just reach out and be like, "Hey, want to jump on a song?"
Yeah, that's fair. Yeah. And you know, gotta like go through the featured X thing. I'm sure that's probably an added benefit there too.
Yeah, I just like skipped the featured X thing. I'm just like, oh, I just DM'd Alan. It's like, hey, you want to do this? Yeah. DM Taylor, like, hey, you down?
So do you have any themes that you throw or things that inspire you to write songs? Like Soler said that he thought there might be some Elden Ring inspiration in your music. I'm not sure.
Could be wrong.
Yeah, I just make it happen because I don't really write lyrics. The only times I've written lyrics was for Starlight Funeral. So that's the song on the first EP featuring Taylor, and Deathlight Chalice. featuring Devin.
Devin Duarte.
Love Devin. Yeah, those are the only 2 times, and both of those times they were like, "Hey, can you write lyrics?" I was like, "Shit, okay, here we go." Wrote them up, and then sent it to them like that night. But I try to make it happen. Like Sunscourge, as you might be familiar, Starscourge Radon. But I was like, okay, someone's gonna take Starscourge, so we're gonna go adjacent so that there's no conflict.
Yeah,
I'm pretty sure someone since has taken Starscourge.
Yeah, because I had saw like obviously you had Death is Destined, which seemed like
Alan's great because like he just wrote, but he said the line "Rivers of Blood," and I was like, thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you so much. He just really brought it together. Alan's based like that.
Yeah, well, I know he's a huge Dark Souls geek, much like myself. In fact, a lot of their merch is Dark Souls themed. I grabbed that Yorm the Giant shirt, dude. I fucking love it. But and it's dude, this I've said it before. Those write themselves as metal songs. If your inspiration is Dark Souls or Elden Ring, dude, that's
absolutely.
Yeah, the aesthetics there.
Yeah, a lot of people are doing it, and there's no shame in it. But
yeah, I will say like lyrically, everyone's been kind of like writing more philosophical things, but it's nice that I think all 6 songs that I have out are in the form of a story, usually some sort of metaphor for like life and death or philosophy or something like that. But it's nice that there's a few Elden Ring references slipped in there.
Yeah,
nice.
Where do you have like deep roots? Like, do you go back and listen to a lot of Black and stuff? Is that what kind of how it reflects in your music?
Yeah, so when I write, I just kind of write what sounds good to me. Again. And I've been into black metal since I was like 14. Like before like any of the cores. I think my journey was like grunge and new metal to thrash, then black metal, or like around the same time, death metal, grindcore, death grind, even more into death metal, and then finally into deathcore in like 2019. Jesus, very recent.
Dude. You've been across the spectrum then.
Yeah, so that's why when I'm reacting, I always like say, "Oh, this is like this obscure band."
Yeah.
just throw that to people, be like, "Go listen to them." But yeah, when I write, it's really just like what I want to hear. So like that first EP, I was like, I want a lot of rhythm. For the latest one, Wraith, I was like, I want a black metal sound because I feel like the trend with black and deathcore right now is it's a lot of like Dimmu Borgir influence. Like that's like the most dominant one. Sounds great, but I'm like everyone's doing it, and there are so many like niche black metal bands that haven't been referenced yet, just because like the black metal to deathcore pipeline is very convoluted. Like, and also black metal, like the whole thing with black metal is like, well, we don't want anyone to listen to our music, or we're going to be posers. So I was like, okay, for this EP, I want to bring in some like influences that haven't quite been brought in yet. So Death by Chalice with Devin. There's what is it? There's kind of like, I want it to sound kind of Opeth-like, but not quite.
Okay.
And if you listen to that, it doesn't sound Opeth-like, but it has like a sort of like more melodic energy that I tried to draw from that. It also has like quite a few like it is a bit of like grindcore influence too. That's kind of buried under the layers of ambience and stuff. I just wanted to bring in something that like hasn't really been brought in yet.
Yeah.
And then Morno Child in Decay, that the closing track for that EP, that's big on Cradle of Filth, because I feel like I haven't heard much Cradle of Filth. And Cradle of Filth's not a small band by any means, but people haven't really capitalized on that type of influence yet. I think the closest is probably of Sulfur. Probably of Sulfur.
That, or maybe She Must Burn. I would say She Must Burn definitely has some Cradle. Not guitar wise, but like symphonics.
Yeah.
And vocals. But
the thing I've noticed with like a lot of those bands that seem like they might have like Cradle of Filth influence, when they cite their sources, it actually generally ends up being Dimmu, which is interesting how like they sound like very related, but if you listen to Cradle of Filth and Dimmu, they sound pretty different.
Yeah, oh, absolutely.
Which is pretty interesting.
But the people, like, we like to call them the booger kids, but like all the purists, it's like, because it's like, dude, like I've said before, it's such a fine line nowadays between what's actually blackened and what's symphonic. It's like, dude, it's all just black and symphonic, dude. I don't give a fuck.
Yeah, I got a comment once that was like, yeah, this isn't black and deathcore. This is like a mix of black metal, death metal, and hardcore. It was like something stupid like that. I was like, please read what you just said. Yeah, just define black and deathcore. Like,
yeah, that's kind of the whole jig, right?
Yeah, just like, what are you talking about? Like, why?
Well, the worst culprit too is when they're like, this has too much production. I have a joke I've said in the past. It's like, basically, if it doesn't sound like cats fucking in a dumpster, then it's not legit black metal, dude. It's like, dude, the Dark Throne era, the Mayhem, dude, I can only listen to so much of that before I'm like, this is just hurting my fucking ears. It's so like grindy, dude.
The inverse of that is the people who are like, the production bad, and then you're like, why? And they're like, it's just bad.
Yeah.
It's just like,
no real
it's
reason.
Like, there's really like a range in which it can manifest, but if it's not like their specific taste, they're like, it's not me. It's just a bad song. It's a bad mix. But there's like so many ways like music can manifest. I don't think people fully realize that it's a form of expression.
That's why, like, when we've been doing, because we also do album reviews within our podcast, and you know, it's real easy to be, you know, just listen to something and be critical of it. We've learned in the process is like, let's kind of reel that back and like, let's more so just highlight the things we're hearing is like, you know, how is the mix levels? Do we notice like maybe the drums are sitting really low in the mix as opposed to, and it's kind of all within the disclaimer of like, if this is your vision, then who am I to say it's wrong? You know what I mean? This is just something I'm hearing. So that kind of goes into like, kind of with your reactions, like now that you have made your own music and you've gone through the process, has that like kind of helped in how you view music now?
I think writing music has made me understand like just like the mental like drain that is, because like I have such like a toxic relationship with music. Every morning I will listen back to my songs to the point where I hate them. I've listened to them like thousands of times, and I'm like, oh, like this could have been done better.
Yeah,
but like I understand that it's like I've also listened to them 1,000 times. I know how it's exact like what would be perfect for me, but it's just like that sort of obsessiveness with it. I'm like, man, this is what everyone goes through. And like speaking with people, I was talking with like the guys in Crown Magnetar just this last week, and they're like, yeah, like that's how it is, and it's kind of insane. But like once you like step back from it, you can really appreciate like what you've made, and like just knowing that has made it just like a little healthier for me. Yeah.
Yeah, the something that I can't remember who I heard say this. I think it was it was Lane Staley, an interview he had before he died, where he was talking about, people ask him, because he was one of those lyricists that like if you read his lyrics, it's like, what are you talking about, dude? And people used to ask him, what do your lyrics mean? What do your lyrics mean? And he made a really good point. He said, the songs that you write are only yours until you release them. Then they're they belong to the fans. They no longer belong to you. And I thought that, like, wow, what a powerful statement. Like, and it's so hard to give up on your own.
He was probably on drugs when he said
it.
He
probably did, but, hey, people say some prolific shit when they're on drugs. It's like, I was high, Ricky Bobby. But no, I thought that was really interesting, is like, if someone hears your lyrics and gets some, you know, meaning out of it, that's the meaning of the song for that person. It's an individual experience. It doesn't really, there is meaning in why you wrote things, but also the experience of people really matters. So that's something I've tried to like really throw into mind, is like, I think probably maybe 20 people have heard my songs at this point. So, but it's something like when people come back and they give me feedback, because I'm in that stage where people want to give me all the feedback, and I love it, you know, but it's hard to hear sometimes.
Definitely.
And like when someone says, oh, I thought this, like a Solaire, there's one song I have where like there's a drum part that, you know, even my daughter, she told me like, that doesn't really work, Dad. And then Solaire told me the same thing. So, I really love the drum part. So I'm like, I don't want to fucking change it. You know, like,
you just shelf it for later.
Yeah.
You never fully give up on any idea.
Yeah. And honestly, I don't really know what to do with it, but it's giving up on that idea that this belongs to me and I want it that way. It's hearing that feedback and being open to it and moving forward. It really makes a lot of sense, man.
Well, and I notice often enough, man, like when people are giving you honest feedback, it's just because they want you or your music to sound better.
Mhm.
Literally, it's not even a reflection of you. It's like this is fucking shit. Like, it's like,
Yeah.
no, man, it might sound better this way, dude. And I think a lot of people go into that really with the genuine idea of like your success in mind. You know what I mean? When they give honest critiques like that. At least that's what we try to do. But since we've started our reviews, there have been, you know, it's been interesting to see people. They pour all this, you know, this is their baby, right? They pour everything that they are into this thing, and to get any sort of negative feedback, you know, some people take it personal, and
even if you don't, it still is. It's hard to hear sometimes, and I think like I've never been like totally vicious. I've definitely had a few reactions that I'm like, hey, what the fuck. But like usually like I'm pretty positive. I like a lot of like different things, and usually if I like really don't like a song or if I'm not that passionate about it, I just don't upload the reaction because I'm like this seems to be a situation where I just don't like it. This isn't the right song for me, so who am I to critique it? Or when I do have like any critiques, I'm just like I'll be like, no, this is like, you know, again, phrasing it subjectively and acknowledging that it's subjective. But I do feel like I'm generally like fairly positive about like the songs I listen to. I do make sure that I like check out stuff that's like I'm like keeping an eye on or like it's up and coming stuff like that. I do try to put myself out of like what my usual is and try to sort of reflect on like okay, what like could people see in this or what can I see in this even though it's something I wouldn't normally listen to. I think like trying to like think outside of just myself and my own experience is definitely super important uh to sort of foster meaningful discussion. I my personal favorite thing is to just like be like, oh, I really like how this sounds like this because this is like a sound that not a lot of people reference, or it's like this was a very novel blend of stuff. I'm big on genre blends.
Yeah, we can definitely relate to you. So to give you an example, because we had I mean, we have early, you know, we go back to like early days of metalcore, dude, with like Misery Signals, Poison the Well, As I Lay Dying, you know, all of them. But we had recently reviewed, well, not recently, but one of our first reviews was of the new Boundaries album.
Yeah.
And, you know, we found ourselves like, you know, we're just hearing basically Misery Signals, you know, throughout this album. But the more we listened to it, that album was pivotal for us. And what we do is like, okay, people love this album, so we need to sit down and listen to it and listen for what other people are hearing, not for ourselves. And that since then, we've tried to kind of tackle every different song, every different album that way. And it's actually changed the way I've just listened to music. Do you feel that at all with just like, you know, your reactions and making music? Like, do you just listen to it all differently now? Or do you get like bogged down? Like, is there like too much? You're like, like I got to do this upload today, you know, because there's a new song and you're just not really feeling it.
Yeah, I do think I do most of my like exploration with music when I'm live streaming because I'm like, this isn't going to get uploaded. Let's just like try stuff out, see what's up. With the reactions, I do try to like curate it a little more. So I like kind of keep track of bands, and the live streams sort of like bring in bands for me to keep an eye on and to track their next release. So I do like that system. But yeah, I feel like when I listen to music, it's like kind of different between like the reaction setting versus just on my own. Because I feel like songs that I might not like fully appreciate in a reaction setting, where I'll be like, oh yeah, that was like pretty cool. Like only on like successive listens, I'll be like, oh wait, that was kind of groundbreaking.
Yeah.
But like when I like have it in isolation, even like a music video can really skew how you like perceive music. I don't know if that's like just me being insane or if that's a shared experience.
No, I'd agree.
But yeah, like sometimes like listening in isolation, like it paints a completely different picture in your mind, and you're like, oh, this is evoking like kind of like a much different feeling from what had been portrayed, you know, when in conjunction with a video. So it's like I feel like context really matters, and of course, like in the reaction setting, it's like first listen. I've definitely had situations where I'm like, well, that was a little chaotic, but on like, you know, further listens, like you come to appreciate it because now you kind of like understand the music more and more versus the first listen. It's so tough. It's so tough to like notice and pick up everything in a song on that first listen. But at the same time, that's like your genuine response.
Yeah. I noticed.
Well, you're just trying to make sense of it. Go ahead.
Yeah, me as a listener, like usually the song that I like the first time I hear it, like I'll listen to it like 4 or 5 times and then I'll be kind of done. Like, okay, I'm done. I'm ready to move on. But the song I heard the first time and I was like, oh, I don't know. And then I came back to it because it's on the album. I'm passing through it. Like the second or third time I hear it and all of a sudden I catch something. That ends up being a song that I listen to maybe for like months or a year. You know, I'm constantly going back to. Yeah, for life. And all the songs that I think I listened to that are off of albums I was listening to like 15 years ago, they're all songs that like I probably, didn't even catch anything from the first time I heard them. So I agree with you. That's what's tough with reactions is
it's a paradox.
Yeah, it is a paradox. Yeah, so sometimes you just have to react to. I think being someone who is delving in and wants to be knowledgeable now because we do the podcast and stuff, I do catch more wind of what is different now. When I might hear, when I used to just buy an album and listen to it, it might have been groundbreaking for me because I'm not listening to every album out there. So I might think this is the only band doing this, but then there's like 30 other bands. I just don't have the money to pay for every album. Now that Spotify exists, I feel like I'm a lot more plugged in. Like, great example was the Amongst the Low and Empty by Signs of the Swarm for me, which was, dude, I really think that's like they took a step up with that. And it's because I'm hearing all the stuff that's going on right now. I've been really deep into it. And there's just something about it. It's weird because it's like, I'm not hearing anything that's like majorly different, but it's just the way they put this together was so expert. And I feel like I have a little bit better ear for that now, but I could be completely wrong too, because I missed out on 11 years, like I said, of music. So it might have been something somebody did 11 years ago and I just don't know. But it's fair enough. Yeah, the reactions are strange that way. Because we just did the new Better Lover song that just came out. And like that, it was so different from everything that I'm listening to now. It's like, I didn't know how to react to it. It was like, I don't know what's going on. And I'm not really, I was kind of into Dillinger back in the day, but like, I wasn't into that. So I can't tell you if that's groundbreaking or not, but it sounded cool, it's definitely well done. Yeah, I wanted to go back to that production when you guys were talking about production too. I think that I enjoy. I don't think it can be overproduced. I think that's an overused term.
Yeah,
but I dislike when a band cannot reproduce what they're doing live if they go on tour.
Definitely, yeah. That's actually a big. I would say it's a big issue, especially like with how like a lot of sounds are produced, like especially guitar. I was talking with Grant again from Crown Magnetar about this because like every time I've been to like a live show, or most bands, bar like some of like the classic death metal bands, so like Dying Fetus and Suffocation, they sound exactly the same live as they do on recordings. But some more modern bands, like when they solo or when they hit any of like the higher like treble strings, there's like a kind of squealiness. And Grant was like very astute, but he's like, it's probably like the digitization with like how like tones are produced now. I was like, that's really interesting. Like that, it can't quite be fully replicated in that live setting.
Yeah,
it's really interesting to hear like that sort of difference. It's definitely, I think, with like that sort of development of like music related technology. That's something that I feel like the like live music hasn't fully caught up with yet. Because there is like that disparity between that recorded and that live sound now, just because there's like so much shit you can throw on your DI tracks to make it sound like completely different. It's just not. It currently can't be replicated in a live setting.
Yeah, and the sound like it exists in a virtual space, not a real space.
Yeah,
as opposed to like if you go back and listen to old. We were talking about Morbid Angel. Like they're the Gateway to Annihilation, I think is the name
My
of the
favorite album from them. I love that album.
That album's fucking great. If you read the interview they did on that, they were taking like mics and putting them in salad bowls to get like some of the sounds. And I saw them live actually, which it was kind of sad when I saw them live because I wasn't into them when I saw them, and I wish I had gotten into them first because I would have appreciated it more. But I then going back to the album, because I remember it sounded kind of muddy live. But they took so much time to do all those special things. It's like, there's no way. What are you going to do? Put a salad bowl on your amp? You know, like it just, the solos didn't sound the same. So I was like, this sounds like a completely different band. That was one of their most experimental albums. Most of their other albums were definitely easily produced live because they stayed pretty true to it. But yeah, the virtual amps, I agree with you 100%. Like that always makes me think of like, will I even be able to sound like, because I don't even own an amp anymore. I got a Rev, G20, and like, but it's plugged straight in. I don't mic up a cabinet or anything. So will that be reproduced? I'm not sure because it's a virtual space.
This kind of segues into the next thing I want to get into, but
Sexways?
Yeah, sure. Whatever you want, big guy. No, that's probably what I said, dude. I'm illiterate. I have a prediction, and this kind of goes into like, where do we think metal is heading? If we had to guess, is I think people are going to want to go back to those raw recordings. I think people are going to want to start miking up amps and drums and doing all that shit. I don't know how far off that is. Yeah. I just think eventually people are going to want to go back to that. What do you guys think?
I think, the reason why people do it is just like the convenience is huge.
Oh, yeah.
But like, a lot of bands, I think Distant used to do that, just like Focusrite into like into like a neural DSP plugin. But like a lot of those bands, they'll just go and record in a studio in person. Like it's pretty standard. A lot of like the really like nice sounds you hear coming out of bands, like it was recorded in a studio. And you do have your other acts that like do it themselves, like Disembodied Tyrant, like Blake Mullins, the boy. He mixes, masters, does all that production himself. I think even he has a lot of like physical amps, and like he has the hardware. It's not just all software. But I definitely do think like maybe that it's possible that like sense of like, oh, this is so convenient, it might die down because people realize like the drawbacks of it. But I do think the convenience is huge. Like being able to like replicate some of those sounds, just like it's fantastic.
That's fair, especially for all the, like we've talked about, there's just singular artists that basically do everything themselves, dude. Because I think Misha had talked about that. He was like, he kind of had the other side of my opinion when he was like, I think pretty much everybody's going to be doing it this way going forward. But I think the experimental thing is like, people are going to be like, nah, I want to do it the old fashioned way. They're going to have that one album.
They'll probably go towards like a more hybrid direction. I feel like that's currently where it's at.
Yeah.
And maybe like people ease off on the digital side of things, but I think it's like they'll do what they can to get that like initial input preceding like whatever plugins they use, like as clean as possible, or through more like manual methods.
So one thing I wanted to ask you too was, because I know you spend all your days just listening to music, so you probably get burnt out, but like, what's an album or a band right now that you just can't put down?
It's definitely been a lot of Carrick Angren. So are you guys familiar with them?
I am not.
So they are I guess, symphonic black metal band that is very theatrical. I saw them live recently. They were fantastic. They killed it live. Very awesome live sound. But they're kind of like, I feel like they are like a further progression of like Demu, but like more theatrical and a little more extreme. They feel like, to me, kind of like a black metal Infinite Annihilator.
How do you spell that?
Yeah, true. That isn't like a word that people would know. I can actually probably put this in the chat, but it's CARACH and then ANGREN. And I think it's like a mix of German and like some Tolkien language that means like Jaws of Iron. But I think they're out of the Netherlands. But they're fantastic. Every single one of their albums is just pristine, and they bring a different thing. They do concept albums.
Yeah, because for us, like one of the albums that I just can't get over recently, I just keep going back to it, is Sold Souls. I hope we make it out of this alive.
Mm-hmm.
That album was just so masterfully done, and it's just a masterpiece. And it's so sad that Stevie called it quits.
Immediately.
Yeah.
Like Distinguisher. Yeah.
Yeah, we talked to him. He I didn't realize that was a solo album for the most part.
Yeah.
He had a bassist that was there with him, Ethan Grayson, but for the most part, he put that out all himself because of all the controversy with Shrine of Malice. I think that's the name of the band.
Yeah.
They had some controversy, so he ended up having to split up the band. It's real sad, man, that because I thought they were, for me, that was the first album that really like every song on it, like in years, every song on it, like it had something for me. Mm-hmm. And I just keep going back, man. I can't stop listening to it. I thought it was masterful.
Yeah, so I'll definitely check that out.
They're great, yeah.
So I can jump into the super metal draft.
Yeah,
because I already got my stuff written up because I had the time to prepare. Last time I was unprepared, but and I put together the dumbest band of all time too, just off the top of my head. It didn't even make sense. I think I put Neil Peart in there, so I was just naming names. So here's my thought. I actually have two bands I put together. So one, because I think that this one would be a brutal, but I really want to hear a band who's got that like real brutal sound, but also somehow sprinkles in that real melodic guitar that you hear in like progressive technical deathcore. So I put together, so for the brutal lyrics, Dane Evans from To the Grave at lead singer. I don't know if I'm pronouncing this right, but it's Ben Towles or Towels, one of the two, from Grey Lotus. He's like the main guitarist from Grey Lotus. So for more of that melodic, and then Buster from Viljaharda behind him, and then Jake Wolf. It used to be from
love
Reflections.
him. He's so nice.
On drums, though, on this one, I don't know if you've seen his drum work that he's been doing.
Yeah,
for
he's
Surgeon.
been posting a lot on it.
Dude, it's insane. And then I never really leave time for a bassist because who needs a bassist? I'm just joking. But I was like, might as well just for fun stage presence, Hardcore Keem, because he's the bassist for Browning.
That's a good one. Yeah.
And then the second one I put together. So I was thinking about what if somebody took Rage Against the Machine and brought it like deathcore. So take Hunter Madison from Hunt the Dinosaur as the lead singer.
I thought you were going to go Paleface there for a second.
I actually thought about him for that one. And then Charles Caswell, who's now in Buried Alive, but used to be Reflections. So I think he could get those Tom Morello style stuff. He definitely does it with Buried Alive.
Yeah.
And then just to really make it hard to listen to guitar-wise, Tosin Abasi with him. And then Clay Gobber from Polyphia. So really, really mudding it up. And then, Brad Wilk from Rage, who's the drummer from Rage.
It's pretty nice.
Maybe we'd have like a rapcore, deathcore band.
All right. I got mine. Mine's a little more simple, but I'm happy with it. So on vocals, I've got Taylor Barber, who's just a fucking goat, dude. On drums, Bobby Crow from Signs of the Swarm, dude, because he's also just
he can do everything too.
Yeah, he's insane, dude. For guitars, I have Jonathan Matos from Abiotic. And
good one.
My other guitarist is Logan Young, who is formerly of Reflections for the Willow album, and now he does his Doll of project.
You can tell we're really, really inspired by Reflections.
Dude, I love that band. Fucking love it. All right, Sean, you got anything, man? I'm excited to hear
Definitely for drummer, I think Dave McGraw from Cattle Decapitation, he is insane. His drumming's so precise. I don't know if you guys have ever seen any of his drum playthroughs, but it's
I'll have to watch them, dude.
How many? Can I pick two vocalists?
Yeah,
go for it.
Dude, you could have a Slipknot sized band. Go for it, baby.
Yeah, let's do it. Casey and Mike from Angel Maker. I love the double vocalist combo. They mesh well together, and it's just It's fucking sick. I mean, you saw Angel Maker live. It's great.
Yeah,
it's
yeah.
like they don't even need to think about breathing because they'll just swap off.
You know the thing? It's funny that the thing I noticed though is like, because sometimes they're playing still smaller to medium venues, so like the stage is only so big, so there's not a whole lot for them to move around. They're very stationary. Sometimes it's like kind of cramped up, dude. But no, they bring it live, dude. They sound amazing live. Love them.
Definitely. Let's see, for guitarists, I feel like it would just be sick because of the Gateways album. Trey from Morbid Angel.
Nice.
Just him on leads would be real fun. Oh, let's see. I got a bassist and another guitarist. Someone asked me this on Instagram when I posted like a full one take playthrough of More No Child in Decay, that song with Blake Mullins. He's like, what guitarist inspires you? I was like, damn, I like Songster.
Yeah.
It's not something I really like thought of because it's like kind of hard to look past like the band name and see the members. Like at most, you know who the frontman is.
Yeah.
Like when I saw Distant in like with the Chaos Encounters last year. I was talking with Alan and then Devin from Worm Shepherd because he was in the area. So I was chatting with him and someone comes up and he's like, "Oh, can I get a picture with you too?" It was like Devin and I, and he had Alan take the picture because he didn't recognize who Alan was.
Jesus
then
Christ.
Alan just took the picture.
Yeah.
And then also took a selfie. Alan likes doing that.
Nice.
But yeah, it's kind of hard to put like people to or
names
people to the name.
face.
Yeah. Maybe for bassist, probably Ollie Pinard of he's also in Cattle Decapitation. I don't know if that's a conflict, but he's also in Cryptopsy. I feel like he could throw in some real nice bass lines. Could throw in some real nice bass lines. I feel like we need another guitarist who could really lay down the groove. I guess if Dave McGraw on drums, really nice, real technical playing, just classic death grind stuff. Ooh, Mendel, formerly of Aborted.
Nice.
Can lay down some real nice leads, real nice rhythms. I think that'd be a nice mix, nice blend of people, little death grind, little deathcore vocals, more technical stuff. Yeah, I feel like that could be a real fun one. Oh, wait, well, time out. We gotta get a keyboardist too.
Ooh, good call.
We gotta get some ambience built. So that would be James Kent, also known as Perturbator. So taken outside of metal. So James Kent, Perturbator is like a dark synthwave band. This guy James Kent, he used to do black metal and then jumped over, does synthwave. It's like super ambient stuff. Sounds real awesome. I would recommend it. It's like
synthwave for metalhead. I'll check it out too.
Yeah,
real good stuff.
Yeah, I noticed a lot of artists are jumping into that like synthwave stuff, or what do you call those, like modular systems where you put in like the physical pieces? But I like Misha's building his own. Like everybody's getting into that like kind of old school style of synth, which is pretty cool.
Where it's like a MIDI basically, or
no, it's like actual, like they have these modular like
where they play it.
Keyboards. Yeah, you can put in pieces, like they have racks built into them, and you can put in pieces to give you different sounds. But
a band that does something similar, Author and Punisher. It's just like this one. It's just this one guy who, as a career, he's like I think he's like a biomedical engineer. So he makes like machine devices for like medical use. And what he did, he makes like industrial music, but he made his own like physical rig that's just like, it looks insane. Just like it's a thingamajig. It's a
moto grader.
Right? Yeah, it's just like it is a thing where it's just like he's like there's like levers and buttons and he's like sliding it to like get different tones, and then he's also playing a keyboard and he's got like 3 different microphones like that give like a different tone, and he just like physically plays industrial music, and it's just the most insane thing ever. But it's like really cool how creative people are getting with it. And it's interesting that you mentioned like the sort of synth stuff, because I do feel like definitely in like the core genres, definitely more synth is being introduced, but in different ways. In deathcore, that's more like that black metal synth influence, but then metalcore is bringing a lot of that sort of like new metal, more electronic stuff. So there's like sort of like divergent directions they're taking that like are taking in like that same type of instrument, but manifesting it in very different ways, which is pretty cool. It's pretty cool to see.
Yeah, it's going to be cool to see where metal just goes in general. I kind of chalked it up to where like there's 2 shifts of like people that want like the bigger sound, but then on the other side you have people with kind of like the return to form, like trying to embrace like older influences,
like the Tactosas.
Boundaries, Tactosa are good examples of those. And then on the offset of that, you have Bad Omen, Sleep Token, that have this just really big produced sound that kind of blends in with pop in a way and stuff, and people love it, dude, and it's bringing more people in, which I'm not fucking upset about whatsoever. But it's cool to see, dude. I'm here for it. I love that metal's kind of getting revival post COVID, dude.
Unfortunately, Satanic Panic is still holding us back because for some reason Satanic Panic is still around.
No, probably unrelated, but something that. So I've posted a bunch of memes about this, but I've learned this from having a podcast and reactions, is you can talk shit about a lot of things, but there's two bands in particular that if you talk shit about, people will come out of the woodwork and destroy. It's almost like being canceled. And that is I Prevail and Nothing More. Dude, I posted one thing about Nothing More, and literally people were like, they're the greatest fucking band ever. Like, just came out of nowhere. I was like, Jesus, I didn't know this many people like that band.
Well, dude, that's cool, funny too that you had mentioned like all the contraptions, dude, because the dude that the Nothing More frontman plays on, I don't know if you've seen that scorpion tail contraption, dude.
What is this?
Oh, dude. We gotta find this, dude. You're reacting live.
Yeah, put like SeenFeen live reaction in the corner.
No, you gotta see this thing, dude. But basically, I had made a fucking like meme, like a short out of it, and I put like the Crash Bandicoot music over it, dude. And like some people weren't fucking happy about it. It's like, really? They were kind of upset, dude. Yeah, this thing's insane, dude.
Yeah, I saw him do this live too, but it's interesting because it looks cool.
Yeah, what the fuck is that?
I'm not sure what sounds it's actually making.
It makes like dubstep. I think like him and Skrillex like designed it together, I think.
That's insane.
Yeah. I mean, he's very theatrical the way that he does it. So, and he's actually a really good, like, has a really good stage presence. When I saw them, I honestly had never heard them, so I was like, "Oh, at least that's cool." We saw them with Atreyu, I think it was, and
Asking Alexandra.
Asking Alexandra, with which we joke around about them too. Is like, dude, yeah, they blew up, man. I did too, so I can't say much. But I like saw the guy from Atreyu. I was like, dude, he looks like his age, like when he showed up, dude. I was like, I guess we're not young anymore, dude.
Well, dude, Sean, thank you so much for coming on, dude, and shooting.
Thanks for having me.
With it. We're excited to review your latest EP, dude, along with Josh's, dude.
Lots of black metal.
Love everything we're hearing from you guys, and we love your reaction videos, dude. And again, just we really appreciate you coming on today, man.
Yeah, of course. Thanks for having me. It is a grind.
Yeah.
I'm shooting that spirit box reaction after this.
Dude, I was gonna say, I think we're gonna take it easy, dude. We'll let you have that one, dude.
Yeah, we got like 3 out and we're not that quick, but
yeah.
Cool, man. Peace out, everybody. Thanks for watching if you're watching.